strengthen your rotator cuff. So the rotator cuff is a really important component of your shoulder girdle complex. It is responsible for providing a downward force vector within your shoulder, which helps to centrate your shoulder within the socket. And so this is an area that is commonly problematic for people who have shoulder pain. And it's also an area that you want to make sure is very healthy and activated when you're trying to optimize your movement while performing a shoulder workout or performing a shoulder intensive activity. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over 4 exercises that emphasize the 4 different muscles within your rotator cuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the floor. You're going to need a light weight or some light resistance bands while performing these exercises. If the load is not tolerable, then just performing these without any external load is also advisable. So for the first exercise, we're going to be targeting your supraspinatus. The supraspinatus is responsible for the first 30 degrees of shoulder abduction and flexion, and it has a slight external rotation component. So what we're going to do is a sideline shoulder abduction with an external rotation component. You're going to start by pointing your thumb forward, and then you're going to lift the arm up to the side, and you're going to start to rotate that thumb over so that when you finish up here, it's pointing towards your head. And so from here to here, we're pointing our thumb forward at the bottom, and then pointing our thumb towards our head at the top. Yeah. And you perform a number of repetitions of these exercises depending on what your goal is for the activity, whether it be strength, building muscle bulk, or building up endurance of the rotator cuff. Yeah. So this is the sideline lateral abduction for the supraspinatus. The next muscle that we're going to target is the infraspinatus, just below the supraspinatus. You're now going to take your dumbbell, you're going to bend your arm so the elbow is at a 90-degree bend the entire time, and you're going to want to support your elbow, whether it be with a towel roll or your fist. And then we're going to perform external rotations, starting from the bottom, finishing at the top here, going up and down, externally rotating the shoulder, emphasizing the infraspinatus muscle here. Having your elbow supported is shown on EMG studies to optimally activate the infraspinatus, which is why we can do that. Good. After you perform for the set number of reps that you want to accomplish, give it a break. The next muscle that we're going to target is the subscapularis. The subscapularis is the only internal rotator of your rotator cuff, and it's oftentimes a problematic muscle for people. So what we're going to do is we're going to be lying on your back. You're going to make sure that we keep our shoulder down on the ground at all times during this motion. What tends to happen is as people come into external rotation, the shoulder pops forward. As they come into internal rotation, the shoulder pops forward. There is some instabilities that happen there. So we want to make sure that we're really good about performing this motion as cleanly as possible. So again, I'm going to emphasize keeping my shoulder down, that's keeping it centrated, making sure it doesn't pop forward, keeping everything locked down on the floor, rotating back, and then coming back up. And we can go the other direction too. Challenge your external rotators a little bit in that same direction. As well, it's still activating your subscapularis a bit. So when we're using a dumbbell, this portion where we're getting closer to the floor is going to be what's most emphasized because of our orientation and gravity. We have a long lever arm here. Now if we were to use a band, from here to here would be the most emphasized portion. So from when your fist is pointing straight up towards the ceiling to when we have now externally rotated the shoulder and now the fist is starting to point towards your legs, that will be the most emphasized with the band because it is now being stretched. And so the way you change the parts of the movement that are emphasized is by changing your implement or by changing your orientation to gravity. Good, so this is for your subscapularis. The last part of the rotator cuff that we're going to target is your teres minor muscle. And the teres minor is also another external rotator. So we're going to perform what's called 90-90 shoulder abduction. Your shoulder is abducted at about 90 degrees, so about shoulder height. And then our elbow is bent at that 90 degrees. From here, we're going to hold this position and externally rotate. This is basically the same thing that we're doing on the ground, but now because we've changed our orientation to gravity, we are now changing what muscles are being emphasized. In this case, we're now emphasizing the teres minor muscle. Good. Now, any amount of abduction between 45 degrees to 90 degrees is good for optimally activating that teres minor muscle. So I like the 90-90 because it gives people a nice, solid, objective point to measure from. If you have a hard time maintaining this elbow position, you can take your hand or put your elbow underneath or put your elbow on top of something to support it, like a tabletop, countertop, bench. And the idea is to emphasize really clean shoulder rotation without any accessory movement of your elbow. There we go. So perform these exercises for the rep range that you're desiring to get your outcome. So whether that be for strength, you'd be doing lower reps. If you're trying to do some muscle bulking, you're probably somewhere between 8 and 12 reps. If you're working on your endurance, just keep doing more and more reps from there. Hope you found that all helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.